I'm saying let's deal with indigenous rights. Who belong, who don't belong. Let's deal with the apostolates of who belong and who don't belong. Let's deal with the actualization of our heritage, where we are to claim our indigenousness. Can you, what is your indigenous heritage? But it said, you go to the UN right now, and you see on the board, it says African American, it says no such thing. That's in the UN, that's where all nations are supposed to be. If you're an African American, where from? Africa is a continent. Where is your indigenous rights and heritage in Africa? What culture you come from? What's your tribe? Where's your head? He said, Olmec. The Olmec head can be found right here. They found remnants of you looking like you right here. Lips and all, nose and all. Right here, not over there. So our question is, do you want to claim yourself? And the question is for everybody to sit here and start dealing with who the hell you are right here. And then find out whether in fact, again, were you a slave? Was your mama, grandmama, great-grandmama a slave? And if it was a slave, oops, can't tell that story no more. Now you got to deal with another story. Well, we weren't slaves, but we were over there doing something else. Now you got to find what you was doing. What you was doing during slavery. If you can't find your link, I know, man, I can't find none of my foreparents I can't find has anything to do with picking cotton. So now what I'm supposed to do? Sit around and still cry that story? We were slaves and, I can't. Now I got to see what we were doing. Oh, come to find out that my heritage is Olmecian. Then we were building empires under women. Women dynasties, she clan dynasty. That we had great substance, abundance, everywhere. Now, am I sitting around and still act like, well, but then we were slaves. It's not everybody, it's not your story. I'm saying to you, and those who have the story need healing from that. So they can come out of that, and you can see it in the Deep South where, those are those who are heritage, and you can see that. But then there's some place in the Deep South where Olmecs were right there set up. And the Yamasee is set up right there. So, the question is that we have to stop being lazy and do some serious research and stop crying these stories so we can get some empowerment, so we can be independent and really truly have a source. Right now, we just want to be victims. It's easy to be a victim. When the white man gonna do that, white man gonna do that, white man, all our discussions is talking about the white man. What he ain't gonna do, what we can't do. Man, what? That's all that is like, a sideshow. Because the truth is, we don't need them for nothing. We can be independent, we can be what they call outside of the system, out of their jurisdiction. That's the only way we're gonna be free. But see, you gotta know yourself, though. If you don't know yourself, you ain't getting nothing. And you might be able to get into the circles where I can prove this to you. You might be able to find yourself, show up in a place where I can prove to you tangibly where you don't need them for nothing. What has been created also is something called a Worldwide Indigenous Congress, where it includes all nations, all indigenous people, that they can come together under one common rule that everybody has rights to their resources and rights to their own abundance and their own assets. Now, a lot of us sitting in here got rights to a lot of that, don't even know it. You see, so it's about being able to understand how you connect with the indigenous of the world, and then you create that Congress, and then you create a worldwide bank, that in this bank actually, can help fuel everything that's going on, and then you create a nation without having to go through all these different things that you have to approve, get approved by a white man, got to tell you he can do it or you can't do it. That's part of what the fiction is, to keep you locked in not knowing you can do these things. There's a lot you can do that you don't know you can do. And I'm saying to you that all you got to do is wake up from the fiction. And of course, I always say the masses are asses until they get some classes. So until we're able to sit down and, have discussions about this outside of a forum like this, and really talk about some really tangible things that get done, then we can really talk about how it's being done. And of course, those of you who are tapped in, those of you whose frequencies are coordinated or have coordinates that can tap in, you'll see exactly what's taking place, what has already taken place. Yes. That you can see the liberation has already happened. It ain't something that's got to happen. And I'm saying your God and whatever God you got, fine. I'm saying to you, God was right there in the presence of slavery. God was there in the presence of all the lynching and everything. And God is there in the presence of all the brothers going to jail. Everything's happening because you don't know you God yourself. You believe God is somewhere else. Somewhere you can't see. And I'm not saying that, to be blasphemous. I'm saying you got to take responsibility for your life. Because that's the God that you are. And a lot of people don't want to die because that's too scary. I'm God, oh boy. All this time I've been praying to myself. And ain't been doing nothing, wondering why I got nothing. That's the same thing. You pray to God, do nothing, then you get nothing. You pray to God and do something, then you get something. So, you know, it's not about you, it's about your shifting consciousness. And I'm saying there's a lot of ways that can be done. Consciousness is all there is. And there's a sense of energy around us having allegiances to others than ourselves. Because man, we did treaties and trade all day long with people. We got no problem with people existing. But you can't be existing if you not have your own system. Right now, we don't have a system of nothing. We don't have nothing we can call our own. And I ask again to the women, how long y'all going to tolerate that? How long y'all going to be somebody else's woman? You know, how long you going to be, you know, listening to somebody else, you know, in terms of your survival? And I'm saying to you, you're doing that because we haven't proven that we can do anything else for you. Because that's your what they call it, frozen independence. That's what it's about. You're independent, but you're frozen because you can't build your own nation underneath him. You gotta look at yourself and see where you are in the mirror. You know, and what mirror reflection do you have to see that you have your own issues you need to resolve in order to make anything manifest. Our condition is such that we've been following false gods and have not got the results. Now, mind you, if you go back to, now I ain't talking about just my idea. You go back and study that when we talk about putting up pictures and photos and images, we put them up of ourselves. You know, that's why we had this is why we left those monuments. This is why the pyramidical structures and the Oma and the heads were all images of ourselves. Not because we had nothing better to do and we had arts and craft. You know, and we just having fun. You know, we were actually leaving remnants of ourselves. So when it came time for us to reclaim ourselves, we had a reference point. Why do you think that white folks got that Washington and everything sitting up there with their images up there? Why do you think all their money got their images on it? Why do you think everything you see is their images? Not because they're having fun. They are locking themselves into history. So they can relate to their own people, can have esteem, so they can say, okay, that's where I can see myself, you know, in the context of everything else. So religion has nothing to do with that. Your belief system has nothing to do with your reality. Because your reality is that you have to own something to be, and you ain't joining a nation, you're reclaiming your nationhood. That 28-day cycle which you live every day is how this galaxy works. Every day. That's why it's called galactic. That's why it's called lactic. That's why it's called you're nurturing its women. Y'all responsible for everything going on. Take responsibility for it. So you can create with that. When you get on the cycle that really is in sync with your own cycle, that you can start constantly creating your life as opposed to unconsciously creating your life. Because that manifestation shows how in the beginning you used to create until you start going to 30 days and don't know when you're ovulating, don't know when you're menstruating, and all these mistakes that we're having in giving birth. Now you can constantly create your life in the same process of giving birth to fetuses. Everything you're doing now, you're creating through that same cycle. You are the reason why we have all this confusion. Because you're unconsciously creating confusion. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it to be negative or to be anti-feminist or whatever. I'm saying to you, it goes back to your understanding who you are in the equation. Remember, nothing can get here without you. How powerful is that? I mean, notwithstanding abortion rights or all that crap. Y'all control that by just by virtue of who you create in your life and what you create in your body. You have the opportunity to make manifest everything that is now seen. And I'm saying to you, if you read this calendar and you read it carefully, and then maybe perhaps I can come and do a whole workshop on it, women only, then you can go teach your brothers what it really is about, then we can really get to some serious creation and some serious harmony. Because I bet you can tell me, most sisters here, if y'all get together and you got a group, and y'all hang out all the time, y'all together all the time, and y'all start meditating at the same time, you know, that's the power of your synergy. I'm saying to you, but now you got to realize that you can do that. What else can you do? That means you're ovulating at the same time too. And how many eggs do you just give away every month because you ain't doing nothing with them? Not fetuses, but your life, what you're giving birth to. You got a bill need to be paid. You don't even put that into perspective because you don't believe that's the same thing. You're always creating. So you should have no need for nothing if you understand who you are. If you don't know who you are, then you're gonna sit around talking about, man, I don't go to this job, I ain't gonna have nothing. Because you don't know who you are. Realizing that nothing can have life whether you give it to it. If you don't give it to it, it don't have no life. It's the same with everything else. And this calendar helps you. It's called a dream spell calendar because it helps you understand the spell you're under and how you can shift that spell.